When we think about war, many of us picture soldiers on a battlefield, uniforms, weapons, historic battles. But war has never been fought by men alone. There is another story. One that is quieter, yet just as powerful. It's the story of women who stood in the shadow of our war and showed courage. Today, we want to honor the women of war. Women who served, supported, healed, and endured during some of the most difficult moments. Behind every victory, every survival story, and every rebuilding of a nation, there have been women whose courage shaped history in powerful and often unseen ways. Many women stepped directly onto war zones, served as soldiers, pilots, spies, and resistance fighters, bombers. They broke barriers at times when society told them that they did not belong there. Despite the danger and uncertainty, they showed bravery equal to anyone on the battlefield. Their service proved that courage is not defined by gender, but by the willingness to stand up when the world feels uncertain. Others served as healers, nurses, medical workers. They worked tirelessly, often close to the front lines or in danger zones. They cared for the wounded and comforting those who faced the most unimaginable pain. They brought compassion into places filled with fear and chaos. And at home, women supported war efforts by working in factories, running households alone, and holding communities together while loved ones were far away. Their strength kept societies functioning when everything else felt fragile. Women carried the weight of families and communities, raising children alone, working, demanding jobs, and holding life together while waiting for their loved ones to return. Many waited, not knowing if this was the last goodbye. The greatest strength of the women of war was their resilience. Many faced loss, separation, hardship, yet they continued to move forward. After the wars ended, women helped rebuild families, communities, and hope itself. They carried stories of survival and passed lessons to future generations. The impact of these women did not end with the wars. Because of them, opportunities expanded, voices grew stronger, and the definition of heroism broadened and became more inclusive. Their legacy reminds us that bravery is not always loud. Sometimes it looks like compassion and is soft. Sometimes it seems like endurance. And sometimes it seems like choosing hope when fear would be easier. Sometimes it looks like simply refusing to give up when everything else is broken. Sonia Tamara of the New York Herald Tribune was an extraordinary writer and journalist. She endured World War I and welcomed the 1917 revolution. Living in Moscow at the time, she was bewildered by the violence, the lack of morals, and the rejection of all cultural values. For over a week, Sonia was barricaded inside of a home, and at last, when she felt the quiet, she endured and ventured out. She stated, "The blood was still running in the gutter, and the dead men lay in grotesque positions. The worldly goods were confiscated, and the food was scarce." Sonia then became an interpreter for a British military mission. She had never seen anything worse than the Civil War, she stated. Passed from the hands of one party to another, their inhabitants, decimated by both houses, were burned to the ground, and their harvests were looted and ruined. Lee Miller, a journalist for Vogue, was sent to Normandy to produce a story of hospitals during the war. While traveling and talking to nurses, she wrote, "Rows of tents with their sloppy, dark, and swaying roofs, the swishing grass floors, and the silent wounded is compared to a jungle of banyan trees, a maze of hanging rubber tubes swaying in khaki shadows." Miller asked the off-duty nurses one day what they planned to do with their day off. One had chosen to sleep. Another washed herself and her clothing. and a third was going to search for her love in another unit to make sure that he was still alive. These are only a couple of examples and stories from times of war. Today, we remember the women of war not only for what they endured, but for what they gave to the world: strength, sacrifice, and unwavering courage, the hope that they protected along the way. Long after the noise of fear faded, their courage continued to echo in every life rebuilt, every family restored, and every freedom we live today. And in remembering the women of war, we should not forget that even in humanity's darkest hours, strength and compassion can still change the world. Thank you.